This can be difficult, a little bit. One key thing. Okay, we have this mind, this emotion, and it's pretty much using same format. It is using the same thing. It can see different image. It can see different. We can feel different, but the way it's seeing, I don't know what to say. Like it's just basically like a, the feel the image. How you we call like a pure vision. Basically. Pure divine appearing. So this is kind of like a literal Tibetan translation in English, divine appearance, divine this and that. But basically, it is just advice is some kind of training into our mind. Our mind just our mind to not to. See the exact same point, but the way you see, the way you feel, is encouraging different way. So like now the point over here, you see holy image. Holy image, they make so perfect. Sometimes they have like this measures, and the emphasis is like to make everything like more perfect. Perfect image, okay? You can see modern art, not necessarily you have to have a too perfect looking, but it's all kind of like a meaning and feeling and emotion. But in a holy image, in a visualizations, it's when we kind of tankas and statues, there's an emphasis into kind of like a perfectness, okay? Now. This is also like this is, I think, that really meaning behind. It's not just to make something looking nice. It's not purpose of something looking. It's a really meaning behind is how to train our mind into the pure vision. Let me put where Takpenawa, Tibetan we call Takpenawa, pure vision. And this is really the key point when you see like altars in a holy image. They're making this kind of like a professional and kind of like a perfect is how to train. It's kind of like a training ground to our awareness to see things much more pure vision. Kanal har chawa, Takbe nawa chawa, kanal har chawa. So our awareness is something that can able to feel the true nature of reality, able to feel the true nature of reality. It's when you say to feel the true nature of reality, it's kind of like a little bit more specific. It's not exactly like that. It's not so much true. It's just how to feel and observe the non-filtered by our own habit and a karmic affliction. In everything what we see is there's something influence. So basically the holy visualization of a holy image and with this kind of like a divine is the really emphasis is our cognitive mind can it see without influence of our own afflictions and karma to see what happens. Right now everything is filtered. Right now so everything is kind of filtered through and what we see. It might be looking in the right direction, it may see it, we might feel different way. So it's all about so now what I'm trying to do over here is this holy image, this kind of thing is training. Can we see things? Sometimes you can have like outside people when you look in this family, oh, looks so beautiful. Then inside, because in influence of a history and culture, then you have a more filter. You see, you see slight different way because of the history. So basically. this kind of like a holy image is again this kind of a pure and perfectness is a main point over here is can our awareness can trained without the filtered can see and experience without the filter of the history experience anything so that's called like a pure vision. Pure vision. Mind itself didn't comes with our mind doesn't comes with a history. It went through history. It didn't comes with it doesn't comes with a history. So I think this kind of like a pure vision is to can our so not only for the divine holy image, but it's kind of encouraging for everything. Not only for the holy image, for everything, for our own self. Can I see myself without my own history, without filtered through my own afflicted history? So it's like something that's really kind of like a jump start or pure start way to experience myself and all around the world as. So that's kind of like this is I think one of the key important in a visualization, in this kind of a deity and Tara. Is fundamentally that kind of like a connection, without filtered. So now visualize. So now how we do that, and that's the kind of like the recommendation and the direction. Can our cognitive mind can observe and connect it without karmic history, without eliminating karma, but. So for doing that, usually the recommendation is you have this like meditate in emptiness first. Meditate in emptiness, meditate in emptiness, and meditate in emptiness. Emptiness meditation is the perfect transition, perfect way of transitioning. Our cognitive mind, this kind of very conventional awareness to unconventional, more divine awareness. Way to transforming, so meditation of emptiness becomes really important. Then, if we ask, what is the meditation of emptiness? What do you think? What will be meditation of emptiness? What is the meditation of emptiness? Emptiness, I think. Emptiness description need to be closely tied with the awareness experience. If we just give emptiness with the backdrop of awareness experience. Otherwise, if you're just trying to give so separately, what is the emptiness? And then becomes, I think, more philosophical, more theory. So descriptions of emptiness need to be closely, when we meditate, we need to be closely our emotion and our awareness way relating and experiencing. And also I think when we're trying to understand, we don't try to understand concept of emptiness so separately with the awareness experience. So that's the, so it needs to be, if we just kind of zoom in very literally what is the emptiness and just cut out awareness experience, how is the experiencing, then I think possibility we might get, possibility of getting wrong is all the time there. but I think it will be much more, kind of like a relevant, okay? So therefore, emptiness, so therefore like how we do, like if the emptiness is the like kind of like for everything, to transitioning from this very relative and conventional awareness to divine awareness. Okay, how it kind of takes through the transition in a meditation of emptiness. So emptiness meditation really makes a very strong transitioning. It really interferes whatever the conventional flow of awareness experience is need to be interferes. So meditation of emptiness basically you know, it's not trying to not to see the object. It's not trying to not to feel the object. It's just trying to shift the how it see the object and how feel the object. So like over here, so in that case, in the meditation of emptiness, and meditation of emptiness need to come through your heart, I think. Not only through heart and brain, and all need to be lined up. How you experience everything, you know, if we just only the head, meditation of emptiness, the story doesn't complete. So meditation of emptiness, so that basically means, okay, if I'm going to meditate in the emptiness of this glass, is it a glass? This glass is not too complicated, simple. But lining up within the myself, my ego, you know, my everything need to be so lined up to able to see the emptiness of this glass. It's this kind of lots of lining up. It's not so much lack of intrinsic existence. It's not simple as that. That becomes much more head. If you just go as this glass is lack of intrinsic existence, then it becomes much more hard, much more has a brain, head. So there's a lot of lining up in the meditation of emptiness to feel the emptiness of this glass. It's not the lack of intrinsic existence itself, but how it's going to feel it, how not how I'm really. I need to be involved. You know, so much that there's some type of a history, karmic history, but then you take a purification of an intrinsic that makes the pure, true nature of this glass to able to experience. So it is a lots of kind of like a. You know, I was trying to listening the theory of relativity by Einstein, and I was like, I don't understand everything, but to experiment that, they have to have the eclipse. Something that it have to have. There's so many things to have to that theory to really to make a real to explain. They have to have that kind of like eclipse, and there's so many things have to come together and trying to prove that theory of relativity. I feel like that's some kind of alignment and trying to get that to really not just kind of like a relativity, just relativity. So in a similar So now going back to meditation about emptiness, it's not about it's just basically thoroughly lining up our heart, our sense of self, everything, and based on that, not only awareness, not only thoughts, not only the grasping mind, everything lining up, and the purification takes from deep down to up to here, from deep from the source of awareness, which is a sense of self, that motivation to want to look at into this object. So the lens that you need to clean up to see the emptiness of this glass, there's several lenses. There's not only one lens. Several lenses need to be cleaned up. Okay, if we even we miss one lens, we're not able to see the emptiness of it. So how many lenses there? I think is individually how you get this glass. Can be some people might have several lenses, some people have a so basically that kind of like a meditation of emptiness, basically it takes kind of basically that meditation of emptiness kind of like a interferes the history and the karma and all that interference the way you experience this glass. It just kind of like interferes by meditation of emptiness. It just kind of like take out all the distraction, the karmic distraction. The karmic distraction of a seeing of this object is kind of like a separates and just kind of like a avoids and that kind of like a distraction, karmic distraction, and particularly not only karma, you get a cognitive obscuration distraction, afflicted obscuration and cognitive obscuration. Afflicted obscuration distraction need to kind of purifies, and then you're able to. So this training this training becomes really one of the fundamental training into our cognitive mind. Okay, this training, constantly we as individual person can go in and out, go in without interference of a karmic obscuration, then also able to come back to leave and kind of move on into even there's a karmic obscuration influence there, able to move on. So that's it's not necessarily saying like you're absolutely kind of. So that kind of skill can, if we are kind of almost gaining our own, okay, this is a different way, like almost getting your own, able to kind of tune up yourself, your awareness into, kind of like a holy image, like visualization of a Tara. That becomes almost like a spark to see all universe as a pure. And that's kind of like so fundamentally able to do that, we have to have that kind of like a meditation of emptiness, which really kind of like helps to do that. Okay, I'm making so much effort. It can get hot. No, it's okay. Yeah.
You just mentioned to have that pure vision of emptiness, clearing up the afflictive obscurations, and then you said the karmic obscurations. And often I think of afflictive obscurations, that you can become, an 8th level bodhisattva, liberated, and then the cognitive obscurations is Buddhahood. But then you use karmic obscuration. I wonder, where's Rinpoche going?
Yeah. Rinpoche is going all over. He's like, he's not disciplined at all. So, like mostly I'm influence. I'm using the word afflictive obscurations influence. Cognitive obscurations influence. Influence, like influence basically, it kind of, like for example, afflicted obscuration influence for our cognitive mind, what brings is a many different kind of narrative and stories and histories and just kind of like a distraction, that's whole thing kind of like and ruins everything basically. It ruins the experience of a reality. Now, influence of a cognitive obscuration, that basically what that means is basically it puts you into the right place in the right condition. Sometimes somehow I am in that place and now I got fall into this situation, and kind of afflicted cognitive obscuration influence basically means something that kind of like this concept of all pervasive suffering. Basically it's just kind of any movement, even you stay still or even you move, any situation is that cognitive obscuration influence is almost all pervasive. Afflicted obscuration influence is a conditional. It's kind of like that. And then when I say karmic, it's basically, is in both case, afflictive or cognitive, the karma is fundamental. So it's. I'm painting the picture a little bit kind of not looking too nice, not too nice, but again, so meditation about emptiness, basically I would say like aligning up, lots of lining up, and then really trying to avoid as much possible. In the meditation of emptiness, if cognitive obscurations influence really difficult to avoid, but the afflicted obscurations influence we have to, at that moment we have to, and I think that's the kind of like the key, one of the first step in the way we do the meditation of emptiness. So now meditation of emptiness. Meditation of emptiness, I think, require your feeling change with whatever, with yourself, and that feeling. That feeling is not about the feeling of a good feeling, bad feeling, right feeling. It's not about that. Just basically the basic feeling of a self need to be different, change. Basic feeling of things, how you feel, is changing. Something change. Something. So basically. What you're seeing is nothing changing. What you see, like the same thing. And like the way you're responding, what you're seeing, is changing. Okay. Now, for that to respond, to notice that change, first we have to constantly have to trying to noticing how we're feeling at this moment. The usual we just kind of like non-aware. We just feel and we just move for the narrative and stories, and we pay attention more into that. We didn't really pay attention to the foundation first. How I feel, how I apprehend. We never do that. Okay, if we trying to do that, we don't like to do that because it ruins the story. So we hesitate to do that. So therefore, sometimes like a pushing intentionally. So really important to meditate in emptiness. To first step to how you're feeling now at this moment. Need to have some understanding more further. Maybe we able to write 20 pages of essay, just not about the story, just the way I feel that stuff. Okay, able to describe. Not usually we describe the story, the narrative. No, just the feeling, just how I feel. Able to describe that. And just that feeling. It's also everything's not like a linear. Everything's not just linear. It is all over. It is crisscross.
So when you're saying feeling, it's not like pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. It's like how I apprehend the situation, or.
Again, it is. We can use this word apprehend, but even more than that, it's just. I think it's required to observe. We can use the word apprehension, maybe philosophically perfect, but that's really not enough. To first, we need to give a really all the narrative and story start somewhere. There's a base camp, and let's learn the base camp itself, and really. So to meditate in emptiness, basically, the one requirement is that one, and just trying to pay attention, like that base where all the narrative and story started. So, the feeling, the apprehension, or whatever we use the terminology, basically to feel that without the conventional stories. To see the feeling without the conventional story. Let me put it this way. To see the things without the conventional feelings, the superficial feelings. To feel that, to notice the way you feel that, or self, without the stories. Once you get in the story and narrative, it's just some level of karmic distractions. So just trying to learning, So in that case, usually it's so quick. It's happening, any experience. That kind of like, if I use intrinsic existence self, this happening, but then it moves to the story so quick. Karmic story, it moves to so quick. So the process is so fast. We just go into the conversation. We go with the paragraph. We just go with the things. And we're not able to see where it started in the first place. So in meditation of emptiness, in a training for the meditation of emptiness, It's not so much dissolving and deconstructing the narrative in the story. That's just byproduct. It's not a big deal. They really need to go back to the way it started, the narrative itself, the story where it started. So here it need to be kind of like observing, just basically trying to look much more just for the feeling. Just for the feeling, how you feel. Just even not, not really, even in a typical meditation of emptiness terminology I use is called meditation in object with negation. You have this kind of like a terminology in the title, but in that case, basically, even when they instruct for that particular meditation of emptiness, is the mandatory requirement. Of course, bodhicitta and so on and so forth, but the unique mandatory requirement is first you have to kind of like clear up all your thoughts. It used the typical terminology called state of non-conceptual. The reason why state of non-conceptual, because we are all the time with the story, with the narrative. So it's basically state of non-conceptual means let's trying to get out from the narrative, the thoughts, state of a non-conceptual. Really just trying to mind to not to get distracted, mind to just kind of clear up, mind to kind of let go all the story, let go, let go, let go, let go, and then still pay attention. And that's the combination, able to let go all the story and still trying to being present and aware. And these combinations supposed to bring to understand, it really gives you the fundamental way to meditate, where you're starting, what need to be empty, emptiness, empty, what need, like a deconstruction is not the karmic story and a narrative. It's a fundamental basically in the base camp, in the fundamental layers, there need to be something kind of shift. That shift becomes the foundation for the meditation of emptiness. So that's, I think, the promise is our awareness becomes some kind of blissed out. Once able to do that, whatever we experience, we can go with our own daily life, but states of a transformation into our awareness is just kind of like a. So that's, I think, the benefit of immediate benefit of the meditation of emptiness. Okay. Anyway, so it is something kind of like overcoming karmic distraction. I will say overcoming karmic distraction, that kind of like a cleared up, and cleared up. Sometimes even just that clearing up naturally opens that kind of a pure vision of pure state of it. Not necessarily through that you have to have a separate need to trying to discover it. There's nothing separately. Sometimes there's like a just kind of like a let going that karmic is just basically trying to abide your awareness in the state of a non-distracted. That doesn't mean you have to be concentrated in something, I think. But your mind is fully calm, abiding. Abide, whatever you're doing, abide. But the key thing is you are, like a first day retreat, you are like 1 hour free from karmic distraction. Second day, you're hour and a half. You built up that kind of like a freedom, that free. So just by doing that, then I think it's also can opening up into seeing the emptiness. Even it maybe the meditation of emptiness is not so much about establishment. It's not so much to trying to prove our point. It's basically let going the habit, and then through that, and then you have this kind of like a stage of awareness. Basically, whatever we label, emptiness, wisdom meditation, or okay. So that's, I think, going back to this kind of like a concept of a pure vision. And the concept of a pure vision becomes everything pure. The environment, pure vision related with the environment, pure vision related with a sentient being. It is not necessarily ignoring the karmic reality. It's not ignoring the karmic reality, but where it responds, it's just like a, it's just like, for example, somebody did something, you can react very reactively, you can react through you can respond through the compassion. It's just like similarly, is a pure vision is not ignoring the karmic reality, but you respond to the karmic reality instead of being negative. It's kind of pure vision, pure vision. And so anyway, it's just going. So one of the this kind of like the deity and holy image making this kind of like a much more kind of like a has a kind of perfect looking is a key point is the message behind is having this kind of pure vision, our awareness to having this kind of like a pure vision. Okay, tabe na was and then not only pure because now in the Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy, reality is created by our own mind. Reality, there's no intrinsic reality. Reality is created through our own mind, and the reality is have many different layers. Also, that's very important when we're creating reality through our own mind. So reality is there's a multi-layers. It is a multi-layers, and even when we say, so over here, in a like for example, holy image, and when you see these things, it is basically this kind of like a perfect view is. Meaning is creating pure reality. Is the message behind is when you say deity yoga, deity yoga. It's basically, I feel, is the meaning behind is create pure reality. Creating your own pure reality. I mean, like, so that's, I think, the really it is now again here, deity yoga encouragement is the main purpose is not to feed negative vision of a reality, negative vision of the world, not to feed. It's not trying to repress and not trying to ignore or kind of like, it's just message is not to feed, and create pure and infinite reality. So reality is created by our own mind. Reality is a multi-layers, multi-dimension. And maybe sometimes, what is ultimate reality? Ultimate reality is also multi-dimension. And ultimate reality is also not intrinsic reality. So therefore, it have a multi-dimension. And so therefore, I think the one thing is a key message is basically creating this kind of like a perfect reality based on a transformation of our own awareness starting through the meditation of emptiness and it's coming through. In any way, it says, myself, I need to do those things. Sometimes I forget myself, I'm creating reality. So that's, I think, the key thing here. So basically, this is, sometimes you can, basically every day we can create our own, we can create, even reality. It's through our, basically in our own state of mind. So basically, when we say mandala and there are different deities, a group of deities in different mandala, is like teamwork of creating perfect reality. So everybody in the right positioning, and then creating the teamwork to the perfect reality in this kind of mandalas and so on and so forth. Okay.
Can I have a question?
Sure.
So, you're talking about this like absolute reality, but at the same time, Tara is like practice to remove all these like karmic difficulties. So how to deal with like duality of like self, others, so how to kind of like not to kind of get focused on self, just trying to remove karma, keep maybe like we could kind of like practice it like with bodhicitta like for others, but does it really matter? Because if we can simply like try to aim into this absolute reality, try to recognize our mind as this like perfect Tara or Buddha mind, and kind of like maybe like purify like these like temporary karmas like this way. How far should we kind of like appeal to deity to remove this kind of like temporary little problems versus focus on like trying to see this like perfect like reality.
Okay, I want to understand much more. Please, your question is
how much should we kind of like care about like our karmic problems? Like,
okay, how much we should care about?
Because it's just like temporary and kind of like from absolute perspective it's kind of like non-existent, but from daily perspective it may be like a big problem.
Yes. I think, okay, how much we should pay attention. If we don't pay attention, even Buddha cannot do anything. So it's like regardless, we have to do one way or the other. We have to pay attention, absolutely. And ultimately, it doesn't exist. What you mean that?
But like from like emptiness point of view, like it's all our interpretation of like. I think like my understanding is that
interpretation doesn't exist.
Oh.
That's interpretation. That interpretation is the things. That interpretation. We filter through that interpretation. That is the need to be that. Otherwise, everything's just is basically. We are seeing through this specific zoom lens. That interpretation needs to be. So that interpretation, even questionable, conventionally exists. And absolutely doesn't exist ultimately. That way of a description, that interpretation. So now again, like sometimes when you see the Tara practice and removes obstacles and these things, okay, it's okay. We strive for having this kind of like a, kind of enlightened energy which have a power or from. Not intrinsically by the cause and the condition and the thing. So now sometime when you look into the different rituals, you might see a little bit too much asking. Tara, do this to that. Tara, take care of my. One time I have one student, and she was a difficult to getting job. She came to me and said, Rinpoche, I'm not getting job. What should I do? And I said, do Tara practice. One way is kind of strange. Tara practice should do for enlightenment to getting job, but in culturally we have sometimes It happens, you know. And then she did some Tara, you know, whatever her belief and her. And then suddenly, after some time later, she got 2 job offering. Then now she don't know which job she to take it. I said, maybe you should ask to Tara now to go more Tara practice, which job you should take it. So again, now, you know, there is that element. In a way, that's true. Now in these kind of things is basically, you know, each enlightened being, when they first generated bodhicitta, they have this kind of conditional, what condition really created, what condition really sparked them to generate this kind of wish to benefit. And particularly like a Tara, I think, you know, like, you know, ultimately, of course, it needs to be done by our own self, and it's ultimately it's much more layers, much more dear. But because of the bodhicitta, their bodhicitta, for time of degenerate time, we have this kind of very complex, distracted state of mind. It is not so much Tara became some kind of like a. It is just like how the Mother Tara generated bodhicitta mind and that intention. And when we're trying to do this kind of prayer, it's just really trying to lining up with the prayer and dedication made by Tara herself. You know, that, so that's, I think, that really, sometimes if we don't see the context, it looks like so much asking, you know. It's like the way they generated bodhicitta at time. So then, that kind of a bodhicitta, you are basically trying to being the part of the Tara's object of the Tara's bodhicitta mind. You know, so that's from that point of view, I think it's a really, when you're doing Tara prayer, and I think this is also important that, you know, maybe some condition happen in our own life. So there's something you did professionally, whatever you have done, you know, like still, you know, nothing happening. And then, you know, this kind of, you know, prayers, the Tara prayers, when you're doing not only divine devotion to the Mother Tara, but really to connecting with the Mother Tara's bodhicitta mind. At the beginning, how it generated bodhicitta is you are trying to becoming part of, you are trying to get the rays of the bodhicitta light. You are trying to karmically trying to be in the right direction, basically. You're karmically repositioning yourself into that rays of a compassion to able to reach to yourself, you know. So that's kind of like the, when we do the prayer, is basically that's the what we are doing. Is there's nothing kind of intrinsically Tara have that power, but Tara generated that kind of bodhicitta mind towards the particular time of where we are right now, and prays and kind of like makes your positioning in the right direction to receiving that. We're using these kind of directions, and so, but of course, it's a very conventional way of describing the reality, and ultimately, there's no such a things exist. Okay, then what things else? So I went all over. Okay, yes.
It feels like no matter what you do, there is you, I, myself here. No matter what you do, so things start almost like from I'm going to do something.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
And so things to line up. You said line up is like I myself's going to line up. You know, sort of like not manipulating, but sort of like, you know, outside of something. So then it feels like. It's I don't judge it. I myself is good or not, but there is I. No matter what you do, at this point it exists. Right?
Yes.
So and then to carry on further than that with I myself. Right? So and it's sort of like to keep it sort of the right position or whatever. It's sort of empty. Things. So it feels like compassion is sort of like on the way to keep it your middle way, which is empty feeling. And the emptiness meditation is sort of like meditation of meditation, sort of like if you do that, sort of like keep yourself there in order to you yourself. It's not to make too difficult yourself. It's sort of like compassion is coming there to keep yourself in sort of antidote to not to go all over.
Yes. That's basically now. As you're saying, when I say lining up, basically even go down to the motivation, and I want to see this glass, or this is my. When this is my, there's lots of things happening. This and this, there's my. There's layers. So empty. Empty is this whole process is basically, I think the way I understood is like when I say this glass is mine, there's a whole kind of process, and this whole thing happened with particularly when say this is my, there's a lots of this starting with a my I, it builds up some kind of energy of intrinsic layers, kind of it vibrates through that kind of like an ultimate. So now lining up is basically you are really kind of evaporating that energy of intrinsic, and then meditation of emptiness, even not only that cloud you're not only emptying, but everything you're trying to empty. When you're looking really meditation emptiness, everything, even though so like meditation emptiness is how far you can see the phenomena, how thorough you're able to see the phenomena, how thoroughly you're able to experience. Emptiness meditation have some kind of completeness, thoroughness. So here, when we say this in the first layer, when you're trying to take it out, whatever you're taking that layer, that flavor, can apply to every even one atom. You can apply that flavor, intrinsic. So even when you kind of in the first, you have kind of like that impact. You see that kind of negative impact. You're trying to dissolve. You clear. And what you are trying to do and where you're doing that apply for everything, even for the conventional eye. You apply that. So then I think when you're trying to do that, then I think there's a time and space can be like unstable, unstabilizing, or kind of confusing. Yes, absolutely. But slowly we can become perfectly comfortable into that space, empty space. That's kind of like And again, like I think it is a meditation where emptiness is able to, about this glass, require almost several layers of emptying the process.
I play tennis, and when I feel like I hit really well, it's something line up.
Yeah.
Oh, I did it.
Okay. Yes.
You feel like when you do that, it's just more like a personal question. But when you do empty, whatever that, you feel like, yeah, I did it. Something.
Yeah, I think it's basically, early time you're talking with non-duality. Same thing. I think is if we feel sense of I did it, and then again we bring everything back.
Right.
Everything back. So here. At the beginning, of course, I think intentionally trying to not to bringing back what we dissolve at this moment. So I think in the experience of in emptiness, I think it's not so much marking and defining less, marking and defining, less. You know, sometimes even like meditation, emptiness, signlessness meditation, sama meba, member meba, wishlessness. You know, this kind of like, sometimes these awareness kind of define, refining, and so I think that in the training process, not refining and not defining. Okay, at the beginning, maybe, you know. Okay, where we are now. Yes.
So usually when I do my morning meditation, it's a lot of sinking or mental excitement. And I know in the past you've said it's better to do lots of short sessions instead of long sessions, you know, where you just create the karma for having a busy mind. But usually, maybe I forget or I'm lazy or, you know, get busy, and so I think, okay, this is my time to do meditation in the morning. And so, I don't know if it's a good habit, but I just sit through that kind of foggy meditation and just train myself, okay, be patient, keep trying to balance the mind. And then maybe after 20 minutes or 30 minutes, then the mind starts to settle and you have some non-conceptuality coming in, and then you can do some analysis. And so I don't know, if I just thought I would share that.
Yes.
See if you can tell me what.
Okay. You know, maybe in the future, concept of a morning meditation and evening meditation, we should take it out. Because I think in one way it makes some beneficial, one way I think it ruins everything. Because the rest of the day, what are you going to do? So you know, I think if we set up the culture of until, you know, we cannot do like, I mean, like eating, we can do morning eat a little bit and evening eat. Yeah, we can do that. But the breathing, we cannot do. Okay, breathing morning one session and evening one session. And noon, 3 times the breathing, we cannot do that. And our consciousness, our wind element and a cognitive element. Our cognitive element. So maybe I think, you know, until our mind is moving, I think we should, you know, maybe, yeah, meditation should not be, you know, sometimes this looks strange, you know, like you do morning meditation and evening meditation. Because like you cannot do morning breathing and evening breathing and rest day not breathing. So like maybe we should have a culture of like, I'm meditating means we need to set up the culture until mind is moving. You know, maybe not perfect, maybe there's ups and downs, but it's we need to build that culture, like a whole day meditation, and then doesn't requires like many things, you know, until mind is there. What is required to do meditation? Basically, first the mind required.
I see what you're saying is not put meditation into a corner, you know, make it all the time. And at the same time, you know, if you want to keep your commitment, you have to do, you know, 6.
Okay, that's right. Commitment. Yeah, that's right. Okay, commitment. Yeah, I forgot that part. Commitment, you know, like maybe, you know, emptiness meditation may get credit for rest of the commitment. No, if we do a whole day meditation, emptiness is a credit for long commitment. No, anyway, mantra recitation commitment, obviously, you know, we have to do it, but because there's some meditation, like meditation emptiness, is about the mind. It's like it's about working with the mind, and lojong also, like these kind of things are like until you cannot just. I mean, like motivation. Maybe we can make sense. Motivation morning one session, you get that motivation. And to follow up for the motivation, we have to have a wisdom meditation of emptiness, or that's something, not just remembering what your motivation was, but the really way to follow up the meditation is not just remembering. You need to be kind of like a nurturing, and basically meditation of emptiness really keeps out of the obstacle of the motivation we set in the morning. So again, over here is, I think, so it really leads to, our practice, maybe at the beginning, it's just noticing, until mind is, it's this kind of like you get caught, and then, sometimes maybe you're able to catch back after 40 minutes. That's still good. And then maybe that gap you shrink. Maybe 20, and that kind of like awareness. It's not so much what you're catching as the symptoms with the affliction, the anger. Not only that, but the meditation of emptiness is not about the kind of catching the anger itself. It's just the intrinsic view of that empty. You're trying to look much more deeper. The reaction, not only itself, the symptom. So basically, once you're noticing that, oh yeah, there's this kind of. So you're really building new habit way to relating with way to understanding our own reactions, building up new way of understanding of our own reactions, and not the reaction itself is the anger or explosion, not that one, but it's kind of like a deeper than that. So I think. That's, a really like sometimes when you have a fear, like you kind of like, and then you really learn, not so much the fear itself, and I think the eye of the fear, just kind of like trying to learning that, trying to kind of like shifting and giving focus into that, not so much the flame and the explosion itself, but really looking into what's really holding that whole together. So anyway, what I'm saying is, I think meditation of emptiness. When I say like whole day, doesn't mean that we get distracted. Yes, we get distracted, but our mindset is all the time. We want to go back and find out and pay attention. It's not only morning. Morning is a good, controlled environment. But I think if we don't set that kind of like culture, okay, I'll have to look at it. And of course, I will kind of pull back to the reaction, but I see, not only just reaction, maybe meditating in emptiness people, they will not get distracted with the reaction and maybe look more deeper into what really holds together the reaction itself. So I think that kind of like a norm and culture, if we can set up, then rest of the commitment, rest of the many things can be happening much more easier, kind of natural, like, and then I think a state of awareness we can keep so strong and aware and not get caught, and like the healthy of our awareness. Then I think if we're able to do that, then in a session, controlled environment, when you're trying to do dissolving and deconstructing the intrinsicness, I think can be much more effective because we are well oriented. Basically, meditation of emptiness requires very thorough orientation of our own self. So that's required for, like until our mind is busy, we being aware, that's the perfect orientation for us. Otherwise, we might do in a session instructed meditation of emptiness. Instructed means like prescribed meditation of emptiness. Because that we can do it, but if we whole day we look at it, it's not prescribed. It's how you say self-aware. I think that will be much more. So anyway. Again, I'm saying that, yes, I think we should have a morning session, but sometimes it have a good news and it have also bad news.
I have a question. So So how to avoid, let's say, we have this awareness the whole day, but how not to go into conceptualization, just kind of like we are aware but not, like, for example, I had this experience that from time to time I get like just spontaneously throughout the day this like clear, like thoughtless, like mind, and kind of like there is this observing part of the mind starts to like go into analyzing, and the analyzing kind of like destroys the experience itself.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Now, when I say hold, like we should do, concept of meditation and emptiness should not be, when I say hold, is basically sharpness of your awareness. Not trying to build like a deconstructing the intrinsic experience. You're not trying to reflect in it. Dependent origination, you're not trying to do all that things. You're really kind of like building particularly muscle that able to detect the intrinsic. That's it. You are kind of like, you went through the storm. You caught in the storm, but from out of that storm, what you're getting, you get the specific muscle to able to look at. Yeah, this is I'm happening this through the intrinsic view of myself. I'm using this word intrinsic view, but you're not doing too many complicated things. You're basically not to get kind of like a training into the resilient. You get caught, you fall down, but you're trying to stand up. So basically, meditation of emptiness, when I say daily basis, basically means you're really training, you're falling down, you're hitting very hard, and you are not blaming for anybody, and you really take a responsibility and look at it. You fall down, you hit very hard, not blaming, you take a responsibility, you're looking into it. And not really trying to fix that, really first, I think that's really what we're doing. We're building that muscle to get back. Oh, thank you. So that's, I think, what I see is like a really, yes, I notice now here is happening as, it's not just like a scanning what's karmic flow happening, and this is basically scanning the way it happening. And I think that's really kind of like the main thing. And then, then I think, in a session, then you just kind of like there's no, no intrinsic reality. I think you're just like a really the logic reflection. It should take minimum time, and really the awareness of building up that. So it's basically. Some type of resilient, I will say. Meditation of emptiness is where building cognitive and emotional resilient, awareness and emotional resilient. I will say that. So basically, like, it's not so much building up what you call emotion and awareness intelligent. Basically, maybe that can be done into the control environment in a session. But for the building to that, I think that discipline of a resilient, emotional and awareness resilient, so that's why that's the concept. Main thing is like a commitment. Our whole day commitment. Yeah, okay, that's so. Again, like sometimes meditation of emptiness can happening just recitation of a Heart Sutra. You can able to fall into the space of that kind of state of a non-conceptual and that kind of spaciousness, and kind of like very fresh and encouraging. So it is meditation of emptiness can happen from many different. It is is a strange phenomenon. It's not necessarily all the time. We can create it and we can kind of construct it and we can kind of enter. We need to have that openness from multi aspects. Sometimes you just lighting up the candle and just kind of through that cause and condition you can have that kind of like a spacious and empty experience, just waterful offerings. Sometimes you read kind of strange sutras. You read these strange sutras. You have no idea what they're talking about. For real. Yeah, and then you have this kind of like you're not reading the words. You're reading through your heart. Anyways, like. One time I had one friend, and she said she could not sleep. And she took all these different medicine, and then she said, "What should practice should do?" And I told her to read Nagarjuna's Rude Wisdom right before you go sleep. She put her to sleep, and she said she could not understand. That's the point. Stay there.
Sorry.
Can't stay up.
So like yeah. I was just trying to make some structure at the beginning, at the page number what we started in page number 10. We have a refuge in bodhicitta before we do the Tara. Is almost how to say this one? I don't. This is like. Of course, traditionally we do refuge in bodhicitta and four immeasurable, but in this, maybe it's important to see the relation between the refuge in bodhicitta and the four immeasurable. Basically, these two practices are trying to bring in very inclusive. Inclusive in this context, you include all the sentient beings, you include all the enlightened beings. Samsara and nirvana, both inclusive. So basically, you as a practitioner, you are very inclusive. You have enlightened beings and sentient beings. And that's kind of like how you set the environment. The kind of like setting the environment is like taking a refuge. Based on that, you have a visualization of the refuge field. And four immeasurable is basically inclusive. Spiritual inclusiveness is the practice of a four immeasurable. Inclusive. Because I'm inclusive is not because you want to be right thing to do. It is inclusive because I want you to be happy. I want inclusive because I want you to not to be suffering. Inclusive because these are your honest feeling. So four immeasurable becomes like the kind of the foundation of foundation for why you go for refuge. Four immeasurable becomes a foundation for why you want to practice that. The six perfections, generosity, and so on and so forth. So, although when we recite refuge in bodhicitta, we recite first, but in reality, four immeasurable feeling is the first. Four immeasurable feeling is your foundation. But when we recite refuge first. Okay. Now again. Sometimes what in a classical explanation is a four immeasurable is like the water, and the refuge in bodhicitta is like the seeds, and you are nurturing through this. Four immeasurable feeling is almost like a nurturing condition. You nurture the bodhicitta, you nurture the going for refuge, the faith to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So this is not so much structure, it's much more like seeds and the water, and that kind of way you need to kind of feel. So your feeling while you're doing your practice becomes more realistic rather than kind of custom or traditional. There's like an emotional, genuine feeling in there. So reflection bodhicitta is that kind of like, and also that sets the perfect audience, perfect inclusiveness. So there's a kind of sharing the merit field of the Tara, which is a visualization of the next. So in that foundation, then you take the, this is like a specific practice you're doing. You're setting this kind of like, over here is the actual practice, but this is the merit field. We call merit field. Merit field is almost like the main, main stages. Is like a main altar. It's like a main thing in there. So you have all sentient being you invited based on a four imageable practice. You have all these elaborated, enlightened beings in front of you. Then you have there's this kind of focus called merit field in the Pacific, this enlightened being Tara. Okay, so it is almost like you are setting up this kind of environment. Now, in a visualization, as this morning we talked it, and you go through the descriptions. Now, particularly, there's this visualization of a syllable letter in Om and Ah and Hum. Again, over here, all these kind of like a conventional descriptions you coming is kind of describes over here, but the mainly, through your practice, you need to connect with the Tara from the Longzhu Zobuku, Sambokakaya. Sambokakaya, and not the Sambokakaya aspect. So it have a different kind of like a responsibility and significant. So anyway, now you go through this kind of four image of feeling, and you have set the foundation very clear, and based on that you have this grand visualization of the merit field, which is in this context there's a center figure which is Tara, green Tara, okay? And once you finish this visualization, as this morning I described, through the significance, basically wisdom path and method path. And then here what happens is when you visualization of the syllable letter, Om and Ah and Hum, and during this time is a very important, you have setting kind of like almost like a concentration, shine, basically concentration practice through the strong devotion, almost like each of, when you crown syllable letter, it's just kind of like a cue. But in this context, you are Sangye Tamji Kudo Jingho, Sangye Tamji Sungdo Jingho, Sangye Tamji Tugdo Jingho. So the syllable letter, when you kind of getting visualization in the Tara, during that time you have that main visualization of the Tara as an embodiment of all the Buddha's body, embodiments of all the Buddha's speech, and embodiments of all the Buddha's heart, the wisdom. So each this time, basically when what's happening is your devotion towards the Mother Tara getting deepening and deepening and deepening and deepening. This kind of visualizations supposed to kind of lead that connection and that trust and that devotion kind of deepening. Sometimes what we do is just your visualization of the mantra, crown, Om, then at the throat, Ah, and then at the heart, Hum. Sometimes you just kind of like, instead of getting busy, sometimes you can do concentration meditation. You build up all these four imageable and refuge practice. Then, based on this kind of visualization, you have with the syllable letter, which is nature, embodiment of all the Buddha's body, in the nature, in embodiments of all the Buddha's speech. And this kind of meditation, that kind of like a perspective also gets you strong wisdom blessing of a non-duality of the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened being. So it have a different blessings. So basically keeping your concentration, when you have a time, you can do very gradually, that kind of concentration. And that concentration principally, kind of generated through that kind of like a deep devotion towards the Mother Tara. Okay, Tukarhungs. Okay, and the actual practice, visualization of the field of the merit, and during this time you have two things, concentration training and also the devotion training. During this visualization, what we need to experience is a concentration and and the devotion, okay, through the visualization of the field of the merit. And particularly, this kind of visualization, syllable letter, Om and Ah and Hum, really makes your next, the seven limb prayer, makes much more kind of like true to yourself. Now you have not that kind of non-dual. Usually we have a Tara, all this duality kind of a perspective of enlightenment. So in here, this kind of syllable letter, then you bring entire non-duality of enlightened states. And based on that kind of awareness, then you have this process of a seven limb. Process of a seven limb is basically generating your own inspiration towards to the state of state of liberation. Okay, and this is like basically seven limb is. Seven limb practice is basically you are introducing yourself to Mother Tara. This is who I am. This is where I am. This is you're giving your genuine introduction with a prayer. Like a. So it's almost like something that. I want to know you. You have to know me. I think this kind of something like the seven limb is like showing your true color to Mother Tara. Okay. Your own manifestation, your own visualization. You show that, and anyway. So there is some kind of like an openness. Seven limb practice is, although it looks like something that you want to be really close friends, something that you trust, then you really share deep down yourself. And seven limb is something like that. You have this kind of like a faith and devotion to the field of merit. Right after that, that kind of like your trust is a perfect offering. Your trust, expression of your trust. Okay, so seven limb is almost like you're introducing with a kind of like expression of your devotion. Expression. You kind of like that kind of like in conventional sense. Okay. So you need to see that kind of emotional transition. First you have that kind of very inclusive, then you have this kind of centrifuge where you have a focus and a devotion, and there's a sense of a kind of like revealing yourself who you are through the process of a seven limb, that kind of building really faith and refuge. And based on that, then the mandala offering. Mandala offering is like expression of gratitude. Mandala offering is something that showing your full trust. Mandala offering is showing your full devotion. Mandala offering is something that so during this time, like for example, seven limb practice and the mandala offering, during that time, what you're doing is karmically what we're speaking is you are accumulating in the karmically we call two type of a merit, virtue, sonam gitsok and ishi gitsok. Sonam gitsok means collections of a virtue merit and wisdom merit. We call two type. So like when you do the seven limb practice, when you do mandala offering, and during that time you're doing the merit accumulation, karmically merit accumulation of the virtue merit, sonam gitsok, which becomes ultimate fundamental cause of the, like for example, sambhava and nirmana kaya, your own future enlightenment. Okay. So basically, your state of your existence, seven limb practice. A mandala practice is you feel so grounded, so secured feeling, so grounded feeling, and basically sense of fulfillment based on the visualization of the feel of the merit. Okay, so it is inclusive. Then you have this kind of like a concentrated feel of merit. Then you have this kind of expression, 7 limb and a mandala offering. Basically, why you do two different things. 7 limb is basically introducing the person, the practitioner, him or herself, and mandala offering is a universal. That based on that kind of like your gratitude and your kind of like inspiration. So mandala offering is expression. It's just expression. It's just expression. Okay, 7 limb practice is introducing yourself, who you are, based on your faith and devotion for the feel of the merit. Okay, and now praises. You're doing those praises. What is why we recite the praises? When you're doing the praises, it is deepening and tightening your connection to Mother Tara. That's it's almost like sometimes when you are passionate about something, then you express more further. You kind of a different way where you will see different time, different manifestation, different aspects. You have all different way of feeling it and expressing it. Basically, 21 Tara praise is just kind of like building the momentum of the connection to Mother Tara. Momentum. You are kind of like and during the praises you're reciting, you're supposed to be joyful. You're supposed to be kind of like you're supposed to be kind of like everything's looking perfect. Everything looks no problem. So like it's supposed to be a much more kind of joyful and uplifting and that kind of things. Okay, and again, this one still, when you're going through the praises, you are still going from the karmic point of view. You are still going to accumulation of a virtue merit. Sonam Giso. Okay. And the same thing, and then we have this in page number 20. You have this kind of like a mantra recitation, no? Okay. Now in this one again, I think that in the mantra recitation there is several layers. The one layer part is obviously I will say mantra in a kind of like a stabilizing your faith and devotion to Mother Tara. Stabilizing it plays that kind of that kind of through the kind of like a repetitive and the way you visualizations, repetitive visualizations of the mantra garlands and so on and so forth, and receiving rays. So it's almost like a recitation of your mantra is a chilap kind of like stabilizing the blessings of the Mother Taras. Okay. And they can be fundamentally your connection, your faith, and the devotion. And during this time also, there's many different methods to generating Shine mind. Visualization of the mantra, and the way you focus the mantra, the way you manifest the mantra. In a way, this whole sadhana looks like a merit accumulation, but also have an element of a Shine developing. developing. It's not only about the feeling, it's not about the how you relate it. You need to take to the next level, basically, next level means your state of awareness need to get to next level. That's the only way through the Shin meditation. And you are integrating the mantra as your object, and you're concentrating, and you're getting into the next level. So I think the mantra recitation is perfectly setting your practice to get to next level, okay? To get to much more in a further in the next level. Yeah. And now, recitation, when we in your own personal practice, in doing, at the beginning, maybe 21 times, or if you have a long session, if you're doing mantra accumulation, maybe few recitation with the verbalizing, and then more in the silent recitation, mental recitation, and then through, you kind of take gently, first your verbal recitation, then you have like kind of mental recitation, and then through gradually, then you have a more focused recitation, means, it's almost like the visualization is the recitation happened by the visualization. It's not by the mantra itself. The visualization of the mantra itself kind of recites its own the mantra pronouncings. So and then that kind of like stabilizing and focus. And again, one important part over here is again, you need to kind of go back and forth. What you mean, like you give the focus. If the focus becomes really dry, if focus just a focus. If just focus is just a focus, then it's not so much point. You need to step back and creating that flavor of your devotion and arising your concentration focus from that devotion. So you have that flavor, that heart connection into the mantra recitation. So again, then of course, then you recite it, and then again, if you lose, then time comes like again it goes dry, just kind of mantra recitation, and then you need to come back into creating that. So that's kind of like I think one important part, and usually, okay, and. You need to leave that kind of recitation, the right timing, like you're not pushing yourself, not dragging yourself to reach certain numbers. Any kind of practice you are dragging, then is not good. It kind of ruins all process. Everything needs to kind of done in a fresh state, and then kind of stop, and not dragging. Not dragging, just pulling, just pushing your limits. So that's need to be avoided. So recitation, sometimes you have to get kind of like a right timing, right amount, then leave it, and then kind of move on. Okay. Okay. So rough introduction. So now let's do one more time, and then we'll stop.
Start back on page 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.